Hello there, we are your hosts Vivek and Pabitra from the Agile Coach podcast. In this podcast, we bring fresh perspective to you through our interviews with thought leaders in Agile coaching, facilitation, business analysis, and product management roles. Enjoy.
There's a difference between data and wisdom. Data is just information. Wisdom are the insights that you gather from that data. And that's what we're looking at right now. So everybody's going to look at these things that they've gathered. And so far, it's just a bunch of ideas on a board. First thing you're going to do is you're going to group like ideas. So if two ideas sound similar, go ahead and just put them on top of each other. And you can discuss them at the same time. Once you've got everything grouped, you're going to vote on which items you'd like to address. So easiest way to do this would be with dot voting. So what you're going to do is you're going to give every person 2 dots. And you're going to say, okay, now let's narrow our focus. Each person has 2 votes. Distribute them however you like, but the items with the most votes are the ones we'll discuss first, and we'll keep going until we run out of time. And that's it. 3, 2, 1, go, and give them about 1 minute to vote. The idea is they'll put their votes wherever they are, and whatever has the most votes is the first thing you'll talk about. Now, this part is where it gets tricky, because they probably have something there. They're like, you know what? We need to fix the deployment process. Or we need to do this. But that could be a Band-Aid. So if somebody comes to you and they're like, you know what? We need to do extra code reviews because our code is crap. That's not necessarily the solution. That's a solution. So the first thing you're going to do is some root cause analysis. This is where we actually get to generating insights. So I'm going to teach you a basic approach to root cause analysis, which is the 5 whys. So for each item, you're going to ask a simple question. You're going to say, what caused the problem we're trying to solve in the first place? So if somebody says, our code is crap, the first question you're going to ask,
let's play it out. Why?
What caused the code to be crap? And somebody could say any number of things. So first things first, they're probably not going to blame themselves. They're going to say, well, I didn't have time to write good code. And you're going to say, what caused that? So what caused me to not have enough time to write good code? And then they might say, well, we overcommitted. We took in too many stories in the sprint. And say, okay, what caused that problem? Well, what caused us to overcommit and take in too many stories for the sprint? And you'll say, well, the product owner was really pushing us hard to make sure that we committed to all of these stories in the sprint. Okay. What caused the product owner to push us really hard to make sure that we committed to that many stories in the sprint? I think I'm at 4. And then say, okay, cool. Well, the product owner was pushed really hard to commit to that many stories because our release is right around the corner and we don't have enough work done, or we don't have enough features completed. Okay, now you're at the 5th one. You're at a point where we don't have enough features completed for the next release. Okay, now that's an interesting problem to solve. Why don't we have enough features completed for the next release? Could be any number of things. Maybe we don't have enough people. Maybe we overcommitted. Maybe we were too optimistic. Maybe we made commitments to the street that we couldn't deliver on. Maybe we didn't work in priority order. Maybe we gold-plated and we built some stuff that we shouldn't have because we were worried that it had to handle 10 million users on the first day. There's any number of things that can talk about this. But if you only started with, you know what, we're going to add in extra code reviews, you're not solving the real problem. And by the way, you can keep going with 5 whys. It doesn't have to be 5. Sometimes people go to 6. Sometimes people go to 10.
I want to add something here, Joe. Like you did a great job in terms of articulating that. You said, so this is the exercise is called 5 whys, and your goal is to generate insight. But remember how Joe said what caused instead of why? That's because, Joe, we have had this conversation. Whenever you say why, people get defensive and people don't open up. But versus what caused is a much more open-ended question. So as a Scrum Master, what you're doing is you're not coming with the answer. You're just generating the environment where you're actually getting people to talk. When you ask these open-minded questions, ideas come to the front and you go deeper and you kind of get to the root cause of the problem. And then as a Scrum Master, what you're doing is you're visualizing this. Hey, this is what we came with. This is the insights that we generate. You're still mostly a neutral facilitator. You might put in some teaching hat, some mentoring hat, but mostly you're doing facilitating. So just wanted to kind of add to like what Joe said is you are facilitating where team members are coming together and they're developing and generating insights.
Right. And remember, your job isn't to have the answer. Your job as a facilitator is to help them process through the framework. It's to help work them through the process so that they can solve these problems on their own. So part of the reason why we do root cause analysis here is because it helps the team later on. Later on, when they're running into problems, at their desk or when they're just working, they could solve that problem, or they could say, what caused this problem in the first place? Like if somebody's complaining about a deployment process and they say, man, this deployment process is really hard. You could say, well, what caused this deployment process to be really hard? And then you could start looking into it, and it may be that a lack of automation or any number of things. Maybe you don't have enough environments to test this and automate it. Who knows? But you want to look at those things and solve the underlying problem, not just slap a Band-Aid on something and move on.
And Joe, last thing I'll give this as a reminder and a tip to Scrum Master is like, pay attention to your job. Like, it's so easy for you to kind of get lost in the solutioning, and it's easier said than to be done. Like when I was in Scrum Master, like, trust me, when team members bring these things, like I get involved. But this is the part where you use the emotional intelligence and to say, okay, well, my job here is to facilitate this insight generation session. My job is not to provide the answer, just like Joe said. So pay attention and take ownership of what your role is.
Exactly. And then once they come up with a problem, you don't want to just say, okay, cool, solve this problem. You want to frame it as an experiment. So maybe, one of the solutions that you came up with to the our code is crap problem is pairing. Okay, cool. So come up with an experiment. Like, we think if we spent 2 hours a day pair programming, our defects would go down by 25%. Or if we spent 2 hours a day pair programming, our code quality would go up by 50%. Obviously, you have to have some way to measure that. You can't just say our code quality will go up and have no way to solve it. But the idea here is that this should be something that you can quantify. It's an experiment. If we do this, if we do X, Y will happen, and you need to be able to measure Y.
All right, that's a wrap with this episode. Thank you for listening till the end. We hope these podcasts are providing value on your Agile journey. If you haven't visited our website, theagilecoach.com, we highly suggest you for other courses and supporting material on your journey. You can also get access to our self-paced courses or learn more about the live training that we provide to become a Scrum Master, Product Owner, Product Manager. With that, we will see you on the next episode. Love and best wishes from the Agile Coach.